Hello and good evening, YouTube. Welcome back to, me yelling in my car because I'm at college again and I don't want to annoy everyone else in the residence halls. Point is that, today we're gonna talk about, something interesting. Last time that I talked about the caution clock, I was getting ready for a WWE show in South Dakota and I was at a hotel, so I didn't exactly get to yell too much about it. The difference this time is that I've got a bit more of an argument to my case, and I think you're gonna enjoy this. So basically, caution clock. In a very similar situation to this one, I fucking went out and made my first reactions, like initial reactions to the caution clock, and I gave all these reasons. That's like, if you stop competition after 20 minutes, that's not exactly competition, is it? It's kind of the opposite of competition. And you know what? Every single time that Michael Waltrip goes, I don't think of the caution clock as a caution clock. I think of it more as a competition clock. It makes the races a bit more competitive. And I just had to look back and say, Michael, you do realize that stopping competition is the exact opposite of competition, right? Right? I'm not the only one that knows this, right? You could probably see my fucking, breath. It's fucking cold in here. Okay, so let me get to the point. Point is that, okay, point number one. Caution clock is a competition clock. Okay, no it isn't. You see, the reason that the caution clock hinders competition more so than it helps competition is, okay, here's an obvious one. You can't go down pit road on green flag with the caution clock. You just can't. It's just not a thing you can do unless you want to be caught 2 laps down and you want your race to be over. You just can't. If you have an issue on track, or if like NASCAR calls you down and gives you the black flag for something sticking off your car, you can't just wait for the pit cycle to run out and you can get back onto the lead lap and potentially save your own life. No, you can't do that because the caution clock exists so that it comes out before a pit cycle. It comes out before a pit cycle. So if you pit before the caution clock goes out, you're stuck several laps down. And that's not okay. Especially and you see the problem with that is that, you could think, okay, maybe some tracks I'll have, like Bristol. Maybe it'll happen at Bristol, but it wouldn't happen at too many tracks. Well, the problem with the trucks package is that they are able to run flat foot every corner because, the tires don't decay either, so that doesn't help that whole thing on that home front. And, I like the trucks package. I said last year, trucks are the best series in NASCAR. Last year's season of trucks was probably the best full season of NASCAR trucks racing that I have ever seen. It was that good. Even with the shitty ass chase, even though the chase ruined it. I mean, every race during the chase kind of ruined it. I mean, before the chase started, it was a great season. Anyway, point is, yes, it was a great season. They go so fast around the tracks that getting back up to speed, going down pit road and getting back up to speed results in, most of the time, falling 2 laps down. Which means that once they all go down pit road, you can only gain 1 lap back. So now you're stuck a lap down. And the best part about it being 20 minutes, okay, here's my favorite part, is like, oh, you can get your lap back on the track when the caution comes out next time, when the caution clock runs out next time, then you can gain your lap back that you lost before. No, you can't, because there's so many underfunded trucks in the truck series that always, before the caution clock comes back out again, even if there's no caution in between, someone's already gone a lap down, so the person that had to go down pit road during a green flag run, well, they're still stuck laps down. And at that point, they can't stay out and get the wave around because they'll probably run out of gas because then they'd have to go down pit road during the green flags again, undermining everything that they've been trying to undo. Am I the only one that sees this? Am I the only one that sees the underlying root problem of the caution clock? And that's just one problem. Oh, there's so many more problems. Another problem is that it's artificially creating, artificially creating drama. You know, Brian France's most favorite thing to do these days is undermine the legitimacy of racing. You know, if I'm falling several seconds back, I can't just toss my glove out of the window and cause a caution and not be reprimanded, you know? Didn't that happen once with Robbie Gordon? He threw out something and then they like penalized him, I think. I think they penalized him after that. I don't know. Well, if the executives, you know, sitting in the suite, they throw out their gloves to cause a caution, okay, that's okay. That's okay. It's the boss. It's the boss. The boss is cheating. That's okay, though. That's okay. It's the boss. You gotta listen to the boss. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's artificially creating drama, which is the thing that I hate the most about NASCAR now, is that everything needs to be a Game 7 moment. Okay? The World Series this year, the entire postseason, that's once in a lifetime. That's once in a millennia. That kind of drama. And to stretch it out into Game 7 and have that Game 7 play out the way it did, it doesn't get better than that. And even if I wasn't a fan of the Cubs, I would have sat back and watched that thinking, wow, this is the greatest game of baseball that was ever played. You know? It was just that intense, and like every second, every swing of the bat mattered. Well, in NASCAR, every turn matters, you know? And the way that races play out, in a sense, is just as exciting as if there was a caution with 2 to go and there was a green-white checkered. And if that happens naturally, then whatever. Okay, we'll have a nice green-white checker finish. But I like to point to the 2015 Southern 500. Now, the events surrounding that race, you know, 2015 was the worst season of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing in the history of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing, probably. And the Southern 500 was probably the best race of the season. They had the low downforce package. They had the throwback weekend. You know? They had all that. They had Ken Squire, for God's sake. Squire is a badass. But I like to point to that because how, like, everything played out over the course of the race led to Keselowski in the lead, Harvick challenging, then falling back, then Edwards catching up to Keselowski, challenging and falling back. Like, that happened organically over the second to last run of that race. And then Jeb Burton had to spin, and that ruined everything. But that happens organically. And if you want a more recent example, how about Atlanta this year? The 200-something mile green flag that began the Folds-Vonner Quick Trip 500 from Atlanta. There were people over the course of that race, you know, several green flag pit stops, and several people being passed on the track. People being passed for the lead on the racetrack, being set up over 200 miles. 200 miles of a race, and these passes being set up over the course of it. And I just don't understand. The caution clock would never have allowed that. It would never have allowed that. We'd be having arbitrary cautions just to bunch up the field again. For just no other reason than to bunch up the field, because that's entertaining, apparently. I don't know about y'all, but I think at the beginning of the Folds-Vonner Quick Trip 500 at Atlanta 2016 was quite possibly the best racing all year. That first run of that race, the whole thing. You could just sit back, you could go back, watch through it again, and just sit back and watch there could be comers and goers. The tires falling off and coming back. People that were fast at the beginning of the run falling back. And passes for the lead on the track. I'm sorry, but that was actually the best racing that I have seen in years. And the caution clock would have allowed maybe 25% of it. Because it's just an arbitrary number to make a caution automatically come out for no reason other than to be there to be a caution. These are just two examples, and I'd go on, but I'm cold as fuck. So I'm just gonna try and wrap this up. If you want me to go on, I will. Leave a comment and I'll do a part 2. But basically, if the caution clock comes to Cup, I wouldn't be surprised, even in the slightest. They're probably going to push it to the Xfinity Series, because rather than actually fix the core problem of the Xfinity Series, which is Cup guys and the terrible car package, no, let's put in the caution clock. Let's put on restrictor plates. That'll help. That'll help. Yeah. No, it won't help, actually. It's just a forewarning, and it won't help. Just in case you were wondering, it's not going to help. It's not going to help. Anyway, yeah, basically, 2 big reasons, and I could go on, but I'm cold as fuck and my phone's